If you are hunting trouble, lad, you found it!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be doing an enlisted tier list based off of my own experiences in the game, having around 200 hours and being currently battle rating 167, I think it is. So my opinion should be pretty sound on what is and isn't good. I'm about BR 3, almost 4 in pretty much every army, but I have used every single squad type so far because I've gotten paratroopers from the silver boxes before, stuff like that. So I have used everything, most things that are talked about on the list, right? Besides some of the higher BR weapons, but that's also kind of covered because I did try them out at least once in the shooting range, right? So yeah, my judgment's also going to be through the perspective of a free to play, as I have not spent a single dollar on this game so far, and I do not plan to. And that obviously means, you only have the 3 soldier slots and the 1 vehicle slot. So some things might be higher or lower depending on whether you see them as disposable and have paid for the more slots or not. Which I don't even think you need to, honestly, unless you're unless you really, like, don't make your units flexible and you make them, like, hyper specialized. I don't think you need to actually pay for more squad slots at all to play this game effectively. Uh, but yeah, the tiers start at D, then go to C, B, A, and S. And then we have at the very bottom of D the I don't care tier, which is self explanatory because this is where the planes go, the fighter plane and the bomber plane. Because of personal bias, I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to admit I'm very biased against planes in this game. They're annoying to fight unless you have AA. You literally just have to hope that the plane is incompetent or you have a really crack shot teammate who can shoot it straight out of the sky. That's literally it. There's very little skill exchange when you're being attacked by a plane. You can't do much against it. I think you can actually shoot them out of the sky if you have a rocket launcher and a well placed shot, but that's like a 1 in a million type thing. That like barely ever happens ever. So yeah, they go down to the bottom of I don't care tier and will stay there for the rest of eternity. And when the actual tier list is shown later on or at the end of the video, the stuff that's placed left to right has no relevance. Like, stuff on the right is not better than the stuff on the left, etc. It's just all things in a tier are relative on level of usefulness for each other. So yeah, now that I got that out of the way, on to D tier. And the first one I have on D tier is going to be the Rifleman, which is exactly what it sounds like. They are the most basic and simple unit in the game. And not talking about squads here, by the way, just talking about individual units. I think I already said that in the intro, but still. And yeah, you get a rifle, and they get automatic rifles in BR 4 and 5, but since most people don't even get that far in the BR system, a majority of people, at least who play this game and just play it casually, don't even get that far. We're just judging them off before that point. Yeah, riflemen are not exactly what you want to have in your squad, right? They're just absolute filler. They don't do anything special. They don't have anything special. Some countries have rifle grenades. I think all countries do. After Japan gets its update for it, have rifle grenades. But I think I've used them on I think it was Germany, right? And they're just not worth it, honestly. It's not worth it. Rifle grenades are kind of a meme. You will like maybe get 2 or 3 kills if the bots happen to bunch up, and you can do damage to light vehicles, but you know what else can do damage to light vehicles? An explosion pack, a TNT charge, everything else can do damage to light vehicles. So it's like I don't really understand the point of the rifle grenade or trying to specialize in riflemen or rifle squads when you could be doing literally anything else. And that goes more so when you are not a pay to win player and you actually have, only the 4 squad slots. It's like you have to use anything else but a rifle squad. You have to use anything else but riflemen. You don't want to actively keep them on a squad when you have other options for that squad. available. You know, like getting a medic. Even a medic is honestly more useful than a rifleman. And you know, people don't even use medics. But but yeah, that's it for the rifleman. You know, he's just kind of the guy, the dude. Literally hundreds of them die per game, hundreds of millions, billions even. And nobody wants to be the rifleman. Alrighty, the next unit on the list is going to be the Mortarman, which is basically should be a direct upgrade from the Rifleman at a tier above, but I honestly can't say he's much more useful than a Rifleman, despite, you know, basically being the same thing but having a mortar in the secondary slot, right? The mortar is just very slow, finicky, a little bit glitchy sometimes. You can barely even tell if your mortars are actually registering at all. Like, the only way you can get kills with it without constant team communication, because, you know, people don't communicate in pubs at all. And the devs refuse to add a public mic chat feature for whatever dumb, stupid, I don't know, non-existent reason they have, right? So it's just people just spam mortars onto the objective and hope to get kills. And 99% of the time they get like 2 or 3, and then use the next 10 mortars, get 2 or 3, maybe some extra. You might get some more if you know how to target a rally, but you know, using the mortar, it's finicky, it's very slow, etc., etc. It just feels like a waste of time. It's only a little bit of area denial, definitely not as good as the other area denial options in the game. And that's why the mortar is a D tier. It's just not really worth using, especially if you're free to play and like have to use your squad slots for actually useful stuff that isn't the mortar man. Even the radio squad is more useful than the motorman because you can at least pack it with, you know, all of this other stuff. Even though I said earlier I wasn't gonna be judging off the squads, right? But I will now, just because I don't like the motorman that much. But yeah, you can pack radios with all this other stuff, but you can't really do that with a mortar. Can't really do that with a mortar, you know. I think the mortar and flamethrower both should be stuff you can add on to other squads. They shouldn't be locked to their own squads, because nobody is going to use them. Nobody. I see people using flamethrower squads sometimes because it is decent area denial, as I will talk about when I get to it. But the mortar squad is just barren. You know, it's like crickets, bro. It's like crickets chirping crickets sound effect. Nobody uses it at all. But yeah, that's the mortar man. All right, the next squad in D tier is going to be the rider, which is the motorcycle, right? And every country has them. I think after the update that gave Japan one, every country has access to them. The actual rider himself, I think, is just basically just like a regular driver. You can give him SMG, rifle, shotgun, etc. You know, so he's technically better than the rifleman, but it's just the bike is so useless. The only thing you can really use it for is like getting an engineer in the squad and driving to like a really obscure spot to build a rally, and that's it. You will get no real use out of the bike, and it's purely just for memes. 100,000% just for memes. You're not going to do anything with a biker squad ever. It is like a mobile machine gun turret, right? But it doesn't help you at all because somehow it feels even more vulnerable than a stationary gun turret does. Like, people will literally just pull up with a rifle and pop you out of it while you're driving by, and then it careens off of a cliff and explodes, or like rolls directly into an enemy tank or a mine or something. I've seen that so many times when people use the riders, and it's just like the actual movement and the bike is just so unbelievably glitchy and broken still. I don't understand how the devs expect you to use bikes at all. I'm hoping they do add like actual jeeps and stuff in the future to act as a sort of you know, maybe BR3 or 4 version of the bike, because that definitely could spice up the game. I think it definitely does need something like that, because the idea of like a fast attack unit, right, isn't terrible. It's just the way they did it with the biker squad is just useless. It's just a waste of a slot. It honestly is. It's one of the like few things in the game, probably next to the mortar, that I'd consider genuinely just wasting a slot, right? So yeah, sorry bikes. You know, bikes are cool. Bikes are pretty cool, but the biker squad is not cool at all. Alrighty, the next unit in D tier might surprise some people because this is technically like a head cannon sort of unit type, but that would be the armored cars, which for the Allies, Germany, and Japan, technically, I would technically classify theirs as an armored car because it is functionally similar in a, just as useless, right? Are the BR1 tank slots usually, which I'll put on screen right now, the things I considered in the category of armored cars. It's just they work so differently from tanks even within BR1 that I have to classify them as a different vehicle in a different squad. And I think the devs should actually consider maybe making armored cars, fast attack, like its own research category. I think they maybe should do that. On top of giving us another free squad slot or another free vehicle squad slot. But you didn't hear that from me, yeah. But yeah, they're just. I was talking about how fast attack would be a good thing, right? But this is just when you give the option for people to use literal tanks, given they are light tanks, right? They're light tanks and not like heavy tanks. You're giving people the option between a literal tank and an armored car that does like a quarter of the damage, right? You're not doing anything with an armored car. People are gonna pick the tank. Like, dude, I've had longer, bigger like kill streaks, right? More effectiveness with a BR1 tank than I have a BR2 armored car in Germany and the Allies both. There's genuinely no reason to use the armored cars in this game. They're absolutely useless. It's like a beginner's trap. It's like a noob trap. Kind of like how I feel sniper is. Sniper is kind of a noob trap too, because you have the impression it's gonna be like good or like different enough to make a difference, right? And then it just doesn't. But yeah, that's the armored car. I think it should be its own sort of researchable path. It probably wouldn't be very big, but there's plenty of vehicles in real life that could put into the game that could definitely make it towards its own path of research, right? But yeah, that's it for the armored cars, and that's it for D tier. So we're moving on to C tier. Alrighty then, starting off C tier, we have the sniper, which, as I said earlier, is a noob trap because most people who play other shooters are under the impression that sniper is a really solid, good class, right? But Enlisted, it's kind of the opposite. You first get access to them in BR1, which is basically where they should stay, which is where they belong, pretty much. It's just single target elimination in a game where you're fighting like 1,000, potentially 1,000 soldiers, enemy soldiers a match, right? Depending on how many squads they have, how many tickets they use, etc. It is just incredibly useless, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Sitting on the top of a building with a sniper rifle, picking people off, is useful, but that's only in lower BRs when people don't have adequate means of flushing you out or just shooting you down like they would in the higher BRs. The only time snipers are good, I've heard, is in later BRs, ironically enough, BR4 and 5, because you get semi-automatic rifles. And the SMLE sniper is actually really good for allies. But yeah, basically it's just kind of pointless. It's not bad on the level of D tier because being able to kill people from really really far away is actually really good sometimes, especially depending on the map. If you're in something like Berlin or Stalingrad where there's a lot of buildings you can perch up on, it makes it really high C or like honestly B tier even, because if you have an ammo box next to you, you can potentially get a lot of kills, etc. But yeah, it's just kind of a noob trap. Otherwise, not really good till you get to very late BRs. So that's why Sniper is in C tier. Alright then, back after a little break, and I do apologize about the fan noise in the background. My gaming laptop I got about a year ago has a very, very loud fan on the graphics card for whatever reason, even though I'm literally doing nothing but sitting here and recording. I don't have any other applications open besides the file browser and the the pictures folder. But yeah, besides my amateurish recording. The next unit on the list is the flamethrower. The flamethrower is exactly what it sounds like, a flamethrower. It's honestly not very good, even at close range. Like, it's got decent area denial with the afterburn stuff, and you can just like spray napalm everywhere, and it sets people on fire. Bots get absolutely melted by it. It's very slow. It has a very slow rev up. It takes a little bit for the flames to fully reach the range you want them to reach. Although it is surprisingly bigger range than you expect it to be. Just keep holding the trigger down. It's just sort of okay at area denial. Definitely not as good as any of the other automatic weapon having things on list. But, it's just sort of okay. I'm just going to say that again because honestly can't even think that much to say about the flamethrower. I've only used it a few times. It's just kind of middling. I only used it to get, like, the achievements, by the way. I don't genuinely consider the flamethrower viable unless you maybe, like, get your flamethrower guy in a Jeep or you have him in the back of a truck and drive right up next to the capture point to where they don't expect you to be. Then just letting it loose everywhere. But while you're shooting, you're also very, very slow, which is something, other automatic weapon having classes. Excuse me, my brain is fried right now. It's actually pretty late here, as it usually is when I record these videos. But yeah, the flamethrower is just very middling, so it's in C tier. I don't really recommend it, but it is fun for a little bit. I think, obviously a little bit better in lower VRs than is in higher VRs. I forget which country it is, but I think there might actually be a upgraded version of the flamethrower you get later on. So of course you use that if you do want to use it in your like BR3 or above. But yeah, that's it for the flamethrower. Alright, the next squad we have on the list, the next unit we have on the list is the Radio Man, which can call in, the actual squad can call in supply drops, smoke screens, all that different stuff, right? But Radio Man 1, without like the upgraded versions of it that are in the, BR4 and 5, right? All you can do is call in artillery strikes, which are actually pretty alright. They are pretty alright support, pretty alright area denial. I do not at all hate the Radio Man or anything. I think the Radio Squad is never worth taking, though. Besides just to upgrade the Radio Mans, you can get the sort of bonus, more powerful artillery, whatever it's called, through the upgrade tree on the Radio Squad that affects all the Radio Men, I'm pretty sure. Even though when I upgraded it didn't really seem like it was very different for mine, but I might just be tripping, or that might just be a bug. But yeah, and the actual Radio Man and the Radio Squad can call in like smoke, supply drops, all that extra cool stuff. Although I don't think smoke shots are, smoke artillery. I don't think it's as useful as regular artillery, even when it comes to just sheer wiping out a point. If you use your artillery tactically, you can destroy dozens of enemy soldiers at once. I think it is like, next to plane bombs, the single most powerful area of effect thing in the game, although it's counteracted by the very in-depth, very intelligent, very smart tactic of going prone in a corner or hiding in a building, right? But a lot of players, especially on lower BRs, aren't going to do that at all, and they're just going to sit out in the middle of the killing field and die to the artillery. So yeah, that's it for the Radio Man. And yeah, also, I don't think you can have a backpack slot because it's taken up by the radio. So, yeah, rip if you wanted to give them, like, extra ammo or a larger backpack. I think they should maybe make the radio just take up the secondary weapon slot, because why you would be giving a Radio Man 2 rifles anyway is beyond me. I don't really see the purpose in that, especially with you usually using it in reserve, alongside other squads. You have it in your assaulter squad, your machine gun squad, whatever. Just use the radio defensively, etc. It's another thing. You should mostly be using it defensively. I don't think it's good to use it offensively, because half the time you use it, you're going to be like trying to hit a site you're about to attack with it, and the enemies aren't even sitting on that site because people don't know how to play the objective in this game. But yeah, that's it for the Radio Man. He's C tier. The next unit on the list is the medic, which can use SMGs. I don't think he can use shotgun. Actually, can he use shotguns? I forgot. I don't know. I'm probably gonna forget about this. You know, it's just like this is just me messing around anyway. It's not like in-depth researched or something. Even though I could just open up the game. But my laziness aside, yeah, he can use things besides rifles, right? Which gives him some flexibility because SMGs are usually better than rifles, especially for close quarters maps. And his secondary is always the medkits box, and you can't even switch it out for another weapon until you throw down the medkits box. The actual medic squad itself is useless, but the medic himself is alright, you know. I think more squads should be able to take the medic. The medic in general, he's C tier because he needs to be developed more. Like the bot medic, the AI medic should be actively trying to heal your other squad leaders, squad mates, including yourself, right? I don't actually know if you can do that as an order either because I never saw the button prompt for it. But I think that's the type of change the medic needs to be slid up to B tier. He needs more development. He needs more stuff to do. Maybe you can get like adrenaline shots or something instead of regular medic shots that give you like a speed boost or something like that. You know, it's just it doesn't have to be completely realistic because it is a video game at the end of the day. I think the medic just needs more development and it would be worth using and it would be worth putting in B tier. But yeah, that's it for the medic. You know, still better than, honestly, still better than a lot of the other stuff in the tier because having your very important guys and your machine guns and assaulter, and your machine gun or assaulter squad, excuse me, healed up and preferably not dead is actually really good sometimes, especially if it's like a premium squad or they have really valuable weapons. Even though, you know, we don't talk about premium squads here. Alright, the last thing we have at C tier is the truck. You know, the truck driver, truck squad, etc. It's just, it's kind of a one-trick pony because it's literally just a mobile rally point and that's it. You usually don't even move it after you've already found a good place for it. It's also a lot more noticeable and a lot more vulnerable than a regular rally point. You know, you can't hide it inside of a building, you can't hide it under a bush, you can't do any of that stuff with it. You just gotta find a good enough building or good enough rocks to put the truck behind and hope that they just don't pop out with an explosion pack or a rocket launcher and destroy it like instantly. You know, it doesn't make noise like the rally does, correct? But it's also a literal like 2-ton truck and it's very easy to see from more than like 3 feet away. um, so yeah, that's mainly why the truck is in C tier. The actual truck squad isn't really that good either. I think you only get like 2 specialists and then the rest are riflemen. It's basically just filler, you know, to make you feel like you're doing anything with the truck besides it just being a rally point. I think other players should be able to drive the truck after the original driver has died though, because the truck will just be left behind a lot of the time, and if you're not the original player who was the original driver of it, right? It's just gonna be stuck in whatever corner he left it in like forever. And it's useless. He just has to, the driver who put it there just has to wait till his truck refreshes after I think 3 or 4 deaths. It's like 3 to 5 deaths I think it takes for the truck to fully refresh. Might even take longer, I'm not sure. But yeah, for all of those reasons, the truck is at C tier. Honestly, maybe like if I were to like judge them from side to side, left to right, I'd put it right in the middle of C tier. Because it literally just is like a rally point and nothing else. The truck doesn't really do much. I think, yeah, other APCs are better because they have guns on them, right? But I don't really use those ones. You know, I just use the regular truck. I think the half tracks, the amphibious APC, etc. I think those are all premium squads. So yeah, I don't really mess with that. You know, this is a list of free-to-plays too. So yeah, truck, C tier. That's the end of C tier. Also, this is about the halfway point of the video so far. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, even though I'm terrible at making videos. So yeah, on to B tier. Alright, to start off B tier, we have all of the stuff in B tier above. I recommend always having at least one of these classes in your loadout. Like always, always. But so for the beginning of B tier, we have the machine gunner. Both the machine gunner and the machine gun squad are pretty much a must-have, like every time. You can obviously substitute though, and I would recommend substituting the machine gunner for the assaulter if you need to. But machine gun is usually a really good play. You just A solo machine gunner can absolutely just rip through entire squads. If he's in a good position, if you post him up in a window somewhere far away where you can easily shoot down at the enemies, a good machine gunner is always going to be on the top of the scoreboard. Like almost on the level of an assaulter, right? But like just not as flexible because you have to deal with the machine gun being unwieldy, the knock kickback on it, recoil on it's going to be high a lot of the time, etc. That's the only reason it isn't on the same level as an assaulter. But the actual machine gun is great. And being able to build machine gun nests for the actual squad, that's also really good too, but also very map dependent, sort of a coin flip thing. So that's why machine gunners in B tier. I'd say it's the best general purpose unit, general purpose squad in the whole game, although some of them do not get access to any anti-tank at all, which is very annoying because you kind of need, I feel like some type of anti-tank is like a necessity to be successful, and you're pretty much hyper focused, hyper specialized on just anti-infantry with the machine gunner. So yeah, he's probably the best of B tier, and he's what's starting off B tier. So let's move on to the next unit. Alright, the next unit on the list is going to be the anti-tank, which is also another very important because armor is so powerful in this game, especially in the higher BRs, that you pretty much either an anti-tank squad or anti-tank within your other squads is like a necessity, okay? Unless you're really good with artillery or you're using a tank yourself and relying solely on that, which I don't think you should for various reasons. But anti-tank units are like a necessity, okay? It's literally just the rifleman, but he can carry a rocket launcher. But whatever rocket launcher you have will mean like a world of difference. And yeah, of course, I don't recommend the anti-tank rifles at all, besides the Japanese anti-tank rifle, which I think is still good even in later BRs. But still, I'd give that to like your third anti-tank guy in the squad. I would not give it to the main dude at all. But yeah, it's just anti-tank is so important because tanks are so much of a threat in this game, which is why anti-tank is in B tier. Don't use the rocket launcher for infantry combat though, like not at all. I wouldn't at all. I think they nerfed them from how it used to be, but most rocket launchers until you get into higher BRs are absolutely terrible at damaging infantry. The splash damage has definitely been turned down from what it used to be years ago, so people can't just like do the Call of Duty noob tube and just like spam it onto a squad of enemies and get like free kills, right? But yeah, that's it for the anti-tank squad. Next up in B tier, and the last thing in B tier we have is the Guerrilla Squad. And the Guerrillas are basically just an assaulter, but the actual squad is not at all flexible because they have to all be guerrillas, right? Gorilla. The Guerrillas. Okay. That stupid impression inside. Yeah, basically they get automatic weapons, SMG, shotguns. They can take rifles too, but why you'd want to take rifles on them unless you got automatic rifles is beyond me. But yeah, the gimmick is that they have after you upgrade them, they have like I think 5 or 6 TNT charges. It might be 4. Yeah. Okay. No, another thing I'm not gonna be researching because I'm too lazy, and they possibly could change it in the future anyway. But like, still, they get a bunch of dynamite. You get a ton of dynamite as Gorilla, and you always have an ammo pouch, which gives you a lot of primary ammo. I don't think it ups your pistol ammo at all, which I don't think any of the ammo pouches do, which they should, by the way. I think you should get more pistol ammo than what you get by default, depending if you have an ammo pack. That's another change I'd really like to see to the game, because pistols are kind of underrated. I do think they are a lot handier than taking a second rifle, honestly, when it comes to fighting in a pinch. But that aside, yeah, if you pick up any enemy weapons, you get that weapon along with the amount of ammo it would have if it had a medium ammo pack, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but you get a lot of ammo with it. point being, this, however, does not apply to the weapons of your own faction, your own army. So if you picked up, a friendly weapon, it would just have a few bullets with it, like it normally would. But for enemy weapons, yeah. So basically, the whole idea is that you sneak in through the back as the guerrillas. You as the band, the Gorillas. Okay, yeah, as the Gorillas, right? I don't even like the Gorillas, by the way. But as the Gorillas, and you pick up like a big machine gun or whatever. Pick up a big machine gun and automatic rifle, and you just use it against the enemy team. Use their own weapons against them. Go ham. Run around with dynamite. Blow up fortifications and tanks. Which yeah, dynamite. It's good to have the extra dynamite. Because a lot of the tanks I'm seeing lately, especially in like BR2 and 3, are the pay-to-win tanks that are extremely hard to blow up without using more than one dynamite. So it's really helpful to just sprinkle 2 or 3 packs on there, maybe even the whole 4 or 5 packs, and just blowing it up, just blowing up the smithereens like something out of Looney Tunes. Extremely useful to make a convoluted trap with if you wanted to just make a line of dynamite packs in the bushes. Which, you'd probably need to be coordinated and also very sneaky, have a lot of hindsight, foresight, tactical knowledge, etc. for that type of thing. But it does work. It does work if you want to, just completely demolish tanks coming across the road. Just put a whole bunch of dynamite as a guerrilla, wait for them to drive up, and then, use the plunger, and then kaboom! Those tanks are blown up, and that road is blocked off for enemy tanks, so they have to go around and, risk being jumped by other anti-tank or your other guerrillas, etc. And that's why guerrillas are B tier. They are a diet assaulter, but they definitely have their uses and they definitely have their place in the game, I feel like. Although I think they should let them maybe walk around in the gray or something like that. Not like super close to the enemy spawn, but at least like a little bit, man. Like the whole point of a guerrilla fighting force is that they're supposed to be sort of in the back lines doing their own thing, right? And unless they add saboteurs or something to the game that would also be in the gray, I think guerrillas would be a good fit for that type of function. So yeah, that's it for the guerrillas, and that's it for B tier. Moving on to A tier next. Alright, so the first thing of A tier, and what I consider the king of A tier, definitely not good enough to be S tier, but getting there, right? And that is the tank. Tanks. We love tanks. Every tank that's like above BR3 is pretty much A tier, okay? Everything below BR3 or even within BR3 besides the Sherman, because the Sherman is overpowered and it needs to be nerfed, but besides the Sherman is probably B tier, but everything else in the tank slot is absolutely A tier, maybe even S tier. It's just they're an absolutely dominating, overwhelming force on the battlefield. You can mow down, if you're in the right spot, depending on what the map is, etc. You can mow down literally dozens and dozens of soldiers without ever having to move, without ever having to even cycle shells, Just literally hundreds. I think I got like once, excuse me, voice crack. I got a 100 kill streak. It was like a 97 kill streak in a tank before. And ironically enough, it was a Japanese tank too. It was a terrible one, using heat shells and anti-infantry. But it's crazy. Tanks are just absolutely overwhelming force. The single strongest thing in the game that isn't like a whole squad, that if you'd count it as its own individual unit, right, is the tank. Especially if you min-max the loader and gunner perks to where the shells reload and switch faster, which you should, 100%. I think you should not skip out. That's like the one thing I'd say to min-max in this game, if you're gonna bother min-maxing, is the loader and gunner perks for tanks. But yeah, they absolutely deserve A tier. The only bad things about tanks is that if you push too far, you're gonna be vulnerable and you're gonna get blown up. If you're out in the open too much, you're gonna get blown up by planes. Maybe artillery, but usually artillery can't really do much to a tank unless it's a BR1 or 2 tank. But yeah, I absolutely recommend always taking a tank unless you're still in BR1. BR2 tanks, kind of, sort of. But yeah, every BR after, if you're a free-to-play player, always pick the tank. Like, you can maybe pick the plane if you're a bomber main, but, you know, I don't really care about planes, as I said earlier. I've expressed my dislike of planes already. But yeah, tanks are absolute king. Tanks are 100%, 1000% what you should be having. Alright, so the next and last thing of A tier, we have the Paratrooper, which is basically just an assaulter, but yeah, you get to drop down from the sky. Along with that, you get a supply box, which lets you choose a few different things. You get an anti-tank package, an engineering package, and I think a sniper or recon package, but it does vary depending on which faction you play as. I forgot if there's even like a non-premium version of paratroopers, but I just put them in here for completion's sake. I got the allied paratroopers, which come with the drum machine guns from a silver crate, so that's how I've played and experienced them, and they're really good. Not as good as they used to be. Definitely not as all. Excuse me, definitely not at all. And yeah, I'm not gonna be editing mistakes out of this video much, as you can tell, by listening to my rambling so far. But yeah, the one big vulnerability is just the fact that you can, after the nerf, shoot them down really easily. And if you drop in the wrong spot, or you drop as the capture point is like moving, right, you will definitely be shot down. Like, people, especially in BR4 and 5, people watch for paratroopers like hawks. You know, they're prepared in advance to shoot them down because they're that much of a threat. Especially with the drum machine gun, you know, type, or you get them with LMGs, whatever. You can just mow down just endless hordes of enemies with paratroopers. It's not even a contest. The only thing that like rivals paratroopers in pure combat capabilities when it comes to infantry is maybe machine gunners, but definitely the assaulters. So yeah, the paratroopers all around very powerful. The only bad things about them is that I'm pretty sure they're all premium or something like that, and they're also really easy to shoot down now after the nerf, which I think is definitely deserved a nerf. But yeah, that's it for paratroopers, and that's it for A tier. Alright, the first thing of S tier, and this is pretty much the home stretch, just these last two squads, and that's going to be the end of the video. It's engineers. Engineers and the engineer squad, unrivaled utility, 100,000%. You always need to pick engineer when given the option. You don't need to stack two. One is good enough. Just hope he doesn't get shot, because rallies are the single most important building in the entire game. You cannot win games without rallies unless your spawn is just that close to the objective. Like I just can't understand how important rallies specifically are. Everything else is just like a drop in the bucket. Like, ammo boxes are fine to have, right? You know, they're cool. Sandbags are cool, right? Barbed wire is cool, etc. Chex hedgehogs are kind of useless, honestly. I don't really see them being used much. But like, the engineer is the single most important unit you can have in an army, and you always need to have them. Not the squad specifically, although it is a really good squad, I must say, because, you know, if there's a tank, build anti-tank. If there's people, build a machine gun nest. If there's aircraft, build aircraft, etc., etc. Excuse me, if there's aircraft, build an anti-aircraft, etc., etc., right? But he's just that important, you know. He's just that important. So yeah, the engineer, easy S tier, single most important thing. Try to get him in every squad, every opportunity you get without contest. And yeah. Alright, the final class, final unit, final squad of the tier list is going to be the Assaulter. Easy S tier. Obviously exactly what you guys thought the top of the list was going to be, the Assaulter. It's just, you get the potential, kill streak potential of the machine gunner, except without the mobility debuff. And you usually get more ammo to go along with it. Although it usually does take an extra bullet or two from the SMGs to actually down and kill people. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And it's usually the easiest weapons to hit fire in the game, too, next to shotguns. SMGs are, you know, very mobile. You're zooming everywhere. The actual squad is very, very flexible. Probably the single best squad in the whole game next to the tank in the engineers, right? That's literally it. Like, what else can I say about the assaulter? You know, I've been glazing him like the whole list. He's just amazing. You always want to have an assaulter, always, always. Like, you can play without one, of course, but I feel like you're dropping your effectiveness like multiple percentiles, multiple percentiles. You're lowering your own effectiveness by not having at least one assault squad, whether it be premium or regular, on your army list, right? And yeah, that's gonna be it for the video, people. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the fan noises weren't too obnoxious. I'm gonna try and maybe put some music over this if I can remember to sort of serenade you as you watch the tier list. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. This has been my enlisted tier list, and I will see you guys next time.